Hello, welcome to this Neoscore tutorial on key signatures. We're going to be looking through the Neoscore documentation on key signatures. There are no examples currently on the GitHub website, the GitHub repository for Neoscore, but we will be having a look through the API. One of the first things to note is key signatures is a cosmetic image. They are drawn once automatically at the start of each line and subsequent lines, but they are not an active presence in the logic and operation of the rest of Neoscore. So for instance, if we have a look at this this G flat major here, if I was to put a G note head here, it would just be considered a G. We wouldn't have to assign it a flat sign because visually it's already been taken up here. But it wouldn't know it was a G flat. It would just consider itself to be a G. If we put a notehead here and assigned it as being G flat, it will assign a flat glyph to that G notehead, which would kind of double up. That's because we want Neoscore to be totally open, totally creative, and without rules and regulations of kind of standard Western notation. If you want that, there's tons of other software out there to do that. But if you want freedom for that, or if you want to stick 20 flat signs before the G, because that's a creative idea, then go ahead with that. That's absolutely fine. So they're purely cosmetic, have no effect on how note accidentals are written. Following on, there are also various types which are mentioned here, and we'll explore a few of them. So let's dive into the code. I'll just copy and paste this. So copy that, paste it over here, and we will see what we have. So we have here a flowable, which we've mentioned in other tutorials, is a flowable container that is aware of of page widths, margins, and will take a staff of whatever length you want it to be and chop it up and place it logically on top of each other in the page. But we're going to need to get a flowable and an origin and a millimeter object because they haven't been assigned yet. So let's go and get our methods that we need for this particular script here. So from neoscore.core we need Neoscore, or else it won't run. Oh, import. We also need to get an origin and millimeters. So an origin is a point. So from Neoscore. It's a core concept, not a Western concept. It's a point on the page, or a point in space, 2D space. Import origin. Do we also have 0 there? We also have 0 as well. And we need some units. So from Neoscore core again, because it's a core concept, import millimeters. Okay, what's left? Well, we don't have flowable. Flowable container is a core. So from neoscore.core.flowable, import flowable. There you go. And we still need the staff, the clef, and the key signature from these ones down here. You can see how they are, there's a red hash underneath them. So from neoscore.western, because these are Western concepts, and we need a clef, import clef. We need a staff, so from neoscore.western.staff, import staff, and we need a key signature. From neoscore.western key signatures or Western conventions .key signature, we're going to go and get our key signature. There you go. Right. So what we have here is we need to set up Neoscore, or else nothing's going to work. Set it up. That gets everything connected. to PyQt and all of the pages set up and everything. We now have a flowable. I'm going to rename these more helpful or more local. My flowable is a flowable container. It's going to be positioned at the origin, so that's 0x0y of, well, no parent, so the page. It is going to be 300 millimeters long, and it is 15 millimeters high or deep, however you want to consider it. So we're only going to stick one staff in that because it's only 15 millimeters. Let's put my staff is a staff object. We've done that in the previous video, but this is going to be stuck at the origin. So again, top, left and right, X and Y of my flowable container, which is my flowable, and it is 300 millimeters. It's the same length as the flowable container. Now we've got a clef, which we're not going to name, and we could do, so let's do it. My clef, sometimes it's best practice too. My clef is a clef which is positioned X, we only need an X coordinate, is positioned at 0, so far left of my staff, and it is going to be a treble clef. Now this is the thing that we're going to be dealing with today, is key signatures, so just put my key sig. By the way, you could call it whatever you wanted, but just for clarity, I'm calling it my key sig, and that is position 0, so it's all the way to the left of my staff, and it is G flat major. And now we need to show it. Neoscore.show. Let's give that a go. Okay, so what happens when we press run? Comes over to here, and we will see that we have a 200 or 300 millimeter staff. Let's zoom in. That is broken up across the page because the margins are here. We have, what did we say? We said my clef was going to be a treble. That's going to be positioned at 0. And we said my key signature is going to be positioned at 0. But of course, you don't have a key signature before the clef. So what it does is automatically make space for the clef and positions it afterwards. If we try to put the key signature first without a clef, well, let's have a look at what happens there. So no clef, we got my key signature, and then and then just the key signature. Let's see what happens there. Well, nothing. If we look back, we've got a whole load of errors. That's because the key signature doesn't know where middle C is. Therefore, it doesn't know where F is to make it sharp. It doesn't know where the C is to make that flat or anything like that. So the clef is rather important in putting the key signature, of course. But if we were to use the base one, of course, it's going to know that it's going to be adjusted for that. So let's just have a look at that one then. So now we've got the base clef version, and it has adjusted all of the key points by itself. Okay, so while we're over at this side of the screen, why don't we have a look at the API? Like I said, there is no, at the moment, example for key signatures, but what we have here is the API. So it's just going to explain to us what we were doing there. So when we instantiate an object, the key signature object, we need to pass with it these parameters. We need, first of all, the position X. Position X is a unit, and we can send it 0, or we could send it millimeters as a unit. This is the X position relative to the parent staff. Yeah, it needs a staff. This is the staff. This is the parent staff. So it needs to know, you need to point to it where it needs to go, and it needs to be a key signature type. But while we're in the API, it also allows us or gives us information as to the other properties that are available as well. For instance, this one, visual width. And there's a load of rendering possibilities as well to specialize into that. But we have key signature type and visual width. So let's play with those two functions in our code. So we're going to be looking at key signature type and then visual width, and let's see what happens there. Okay, so back into Codeland. We've got my key signature. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some of these properties using these functions and just print them onto this page here. So I'm going to get rid of this, just cancel that out, so it won't render as an image. But as we've got my key sig, what I'm going to do is print my key sig, and then we said we wanted to know something like key signature type, which was the first one. Okay, so if I run this down in the console here, it is going to tell us what the key signature is. Okay, that's pretty handy if we want to locate something, or we want to find out what the key signature is at this particular place in a score in order for us to take that information and make something from it, such as it might use some computational creativity to form a melody out of that particular key signature. Yep, knowing what it is there and then. We also said we wanted to have a look at the visual width, just in case we want to do, it's kind of adjustments for something, or start points, or whatever it is, to take that value and use it somewhere else in our code, maybe in an animation. So here we have staff unit 6, G flat major, is presuming that a sharp or a flat is about a line width, which is a staff unit, and this is 6 of them. So if we were to change this to just G major, we know there's only one sharp into there. I would expect to see the staff unit change to 1. Boof. All right, there you go. Thank you very much.